Hello, my name is Ezra, and for 157 days I watched CosmicSelector.com's every move, only missing a handful of days. In my time, I noticed distinct visual variations to the video feed, especially when I went back to label my catalog of screen recordings. In this video, I will be explaining every single variation I've noticed, with how long they were around for, what were the calling signs for them, and many more. But first, in case you happen to not be a Lord Hunter fan, what is CosmicSelector.com? Here's a timestamp to skip. CosmicSelector.com is a website created by band Lord Huron and Lee Martin to help promote their then upcoming album, The Cosmic Selector Volume 1, while creating an engaging experience for fans. Cosmic coins were sent to or found by fans, which can then play unreleased songs from the CosmicSelector.com website via their phone. Anyone else on the website could hear the song clips as well. The site launched July 1st, 2025, and since then, the site has had inconsistent yet daily visual changes in the static overlay and movement effects, which is what we're talking about today. I've categorized the visual displays into wiggle variants and static variants. The wiggle affects the jukebox's motion, and one of its biggest calling cards between the variants are things I call waves, seen each side of the footage screen. Static variants are purely visual, with no direct change to the jukebox's model, unlike the wiggle. There's a lot less wiggle variants than static variants, thus I'm starting with those. Wiggle variant 1, for easier logging shortened to WV1, which I have nicknamed Silver Fever, was only present from July 1st to July 2nd, but the after effects are downgraded to be less dramatic. WV1 was very obvious, causing great change in the jukebox, but especially in its large reaching waves. When Summer Fever was phased out, listeners and viewers of the site could get much better look at all the work and effort put into the background of the jukebox itself. After Wiggle Variant 1 was put out back, I can only spot two other variants consistently for the next 5 months. Wiggle Variant 2 and Wiggle Variant 3, aka WV2 and WV3, aka Worm Potty and Slug Time. There are many differences in how aggressive the waves progress across the footage, how they leapt, or how much they affected the jukebox. That's not what made me set them apart. The excessive difference I kept noticing is if the white selecting border was lifted off of its line by the waves or not. Worm Potty would lift the white, while Slug Time left the border alone. Now you might be asking, Ezra, that's such a small difference. Why not just categorize them together as WV2 and not bother with WV3? Well, it is likely it's just one single wiggle variant code. My categories are very specifically for visual logging, what the site looked like. And this is a big enough difference I noticed went back up for a long time and I wanted to record it. Now we get into the fun stuff, static variants. The first static variant was SV1, idle wibbling. Looks like your rather basic static overlay, nothing much to it. The thing is, when I was going back to watch my video catalog, I noticed a very similar static variant that jumped more than idle wibbling did, more rapid. This is SV2 Grave Riser. SV2 had this sort of swift edging at an angle, with the left side of the footage screen being higher than the right. These two are the most common, appearing in more than half my archive videos, and for days on end I didn't record. SV3 is very interesting to me. It's been around since the very start. I call it Snatch bars. Like snack bars, for the weightlifting movement. SV3 lifts the... Now if you're looking at the site with your eye, these bars are actually more like blocks. They're really small, kind of looking like a grid without being a grid. When the website went down, I tried taking videos and screenshots from my computer, recordings of photos from my phone, but nothing could capture the eye effect, because it's sort of lost media now. My theory on why this happened is that the bars were moving really fast to the eye, but the recording and screenshots slowed them down somehow. I very recently noticed a subvariant SV3.2 where the bars were a lot more pixel. Like SV3, these had two lines and a bunch of static contained in them, but SV3.2 was way too visible. This is my absolute favorite grouping of SVs because they just don't happen often. In fact, this one little variant on screen is known as SV4.1. It was only recorded on 2 days, back on July 2nd and November 19th. This is before Summer Fever was put to rest, before the background started changing. We only had 7 songs on the website. This was before the Nothing I Need Who Last party of 704. I cannot verbally express the emotions I felt going back to my earliest videos of the site and finding this gem, especially after the November 19th to 20th event of my life. Just out of the blue, a bunch of SV4 forums came out of nowhere. Put yourself in my shoes. You're obsessed with this website, are confusing everything about it, just randomly in the middle of the day, a bunch of visual effects you've never seen in your life pop up with a bunch of differences. So you go back and the only instances recorded as family form you can find is November 10th, 9 days ago, and July 2nd, 140 days ago. It drives me insane. With a tangent assigned, welcome to the SV4 group known as Rippling Staircase. These are my babies. Rippling staircase effects are sort of similar to SV3, but are clearly just straight pixels. There's SV4.1, which resembles SV3 the most of the other 3 SV4 subvariants. There is very clearly a louder edge and a darker middle. I originally thought SV4.1 was only seen on July 2nd, but lo and behold, I have a screen cap from November 19th of it. SV4.2 is very close to 4.1 with the outer edge in the middle, but presents with less pixels and more dramatic steps. I'm noting I first thought SV4.2 was 4.1, but visually different because of the early date overlays. But with the discovery of SV4.1 after the July 2nd, they're very clearly different. I came across this photo of SV4 that looks like SV4.2, but much more spaced out. I decided to categorize this as 4.2 instead of a new form because it's the same build-up, just spaced differently. SV4.3 has a similar staircase to 4.2, but lacks the middle, with a dark edge being on the bottom. SV4.4 has the same makeup as 4.3, but is bigger and way lower quality. The computer is plugged in during this video, by the way. It just should look like this. SV4.5 are almost like full flat bars, but just barely has a step down, narrowly a staircase. It clearly belongs to the SV4 family. I actually only photographed this early on in the day as most of the SV4 family, but I didn't record it. The next static variant is something I call phone exclusive, meaning I've never recorded on desktop. Given an unexpected shutdown on cosmicsutter.com, the mobile version of the site is widely undocumented. In short, when I say phone exclusive, take it with a grain of salt. It's a category term meaning it's only seen on phone. Introducing SV5 Burger, because the specs are like stars, and Who Laughs Last mentioned stars, and Who Laughs Last Burger paid homage to the burger incidents perhaps. Burger moved very similar to Grave Riser, but had this kind of scattered effect, especially with these almost patterned dots and stripes when you take a still image. Consider calling this SV2.3, but it felt different and unique enough to mark it as SV5. There's a sub-variant of this, SV5.2, which looks too much like Grave Riser to be Burger, but too much like Burger to be Grave Riser. As I've only seen it on my phone the same day as SV5.2, it'll be categorized under SV5. SV5.2 is a broad category for any of these variations that don't fit under SV5 or SV2. All these screenshots basically. SV5 is also broad, but not that much. All these screenshots. And finally, our most mysterious static variant to date. SV6 July Stream. There's only one single photo of this static variant from July 7th, and it would have been lost forever I had not sent it to the Lord on Discord server, given my mistake in clearing out my computer's gallery and losing a lot of cosmicsutter.com archiving. There's no video, no secondary appearance. This is the one and only. It almost looks like it belongs to the SV4 group, but there was not enough visual information about SV6 for me to comfortably put it there. And there's this really odd formation in the middle that almost looks like a symbol. None of the other static overlays have had that before. I've spent more hours than I care to admit pacing circles, sitting very still and thinking about July Stream. It drives me crazy we have no video of this variant. These are had it for SV4.1, or Burger, but we have nothing for SV6. Something I was in the process of attempting to figure out is what causes the overlays to change. Reloads of the whole site usually result in a reset of SV1, however I found this video of a mini reload for a sound replay that resulted in a change from SV2 to SV3, and there's this treasure of an archive video of a change from SV2 to SV3 without a reload at all. It isn't a lag problem, it's a problem with my malware hung computer, my phone was fine. It isn't a single network / Wi-Fi issue, in fact the visual effects may be individual device based. Here's a video with my phone presenting with SV1, but my computer has SV3. I was planning to try to form a conclusion myself, but with the site down as of November 30th, 2025, I can no longer do that. Updates on these questions will be put on my cosmicsutter.com fan blog, Tumblr for anyone interested, as well as the second video most likely. Thanks so much for watching. I will hopefully have a full cosmicsutter.com history video coming in the next few months, so keep an eye out for that. Goodbye, may you live until you die. I may be asking, Ezra, that's such a small difference. I may be asking, Ezra, that's such a small difference. How do I want to say that? The wiggle affects the jukebox's motion and one of its big... cannot say biggest. Christ. Oh, fuck. God, that was so fucking hard for no reason. Oh my Christ. Oh, God. Wow.